Hello to all CENIMASTER lovers. Hope you enjoy watching. Let's get started. Our movie begins with a girl entering the forest, and suddenly she hears sounds from above the trees. She gets worried and looks up, and as the sounds grow louder, as if creatures are chasing her, she keeps running until she trips and falls to the ground. She looks at her abdomen to find it suddenly enlarged, and something approaches her. Then we shift to our protagonist, Dana, who has just woken up and is exercising. When she sees a bird from the window, she grabs her camera and takes a picture. Afterward, her husband, Charlie, wakes up and she jokes with him, saying, "I don't know how your friends will tolerate you for 6 months when you travel and stay with them." Then she suggests they go on a camping trip in the forest for 2 days before he leaves, and he agrees. Suddenly, she tells him she's going to the bathroom to take a shower. She goes in, plays loud music, and then starts vomiting. Later, she prepares her bag for the camping trip. Her husband comes and presents her with a gift, a compass to celebrate their wedding anniversary. She gets excited and thanks him. He suggests they stay home instead of camping, but she insists that the house lacks adventure. They take their bags and leave. He takes his gun and secretly puts it in their bag without his wife noticing. They get in the car and head towards the forest. On the way, Charles tells her not to stay alone when he travels and that she needs to make friends. But she replies that she's fine and he shouldn't worry about her. She flips through the photos on her camera, sees pictures of children she had taken, and tells him she wants to become a mother. He reminds her that they had agreed from the start of their marriage that they didn't want kids and would live their lives traveling and adventuring. This upsets her, and she stays silent. He then says, "Why are we talking about this now? Let's just enjoy our vacation together." They take a boat to reach the forest they want to explore. Once there, they begin walking deeper into the woods. Dana gets tired frequently and has to stop to rest. When she tells her husband, "I don't know why I keep needing to stop," he jokes with her, saying it's because she's getting older. They keep walking until they find a spot and set up their tent. Charles falls asleep, but Dana stays awake. She hears movement outside the tent, grabs her camera, and takes pictures. She notices something in the photo near a tree. When she shows the photo to Charles, he, still sleepy, tells her to go back to sleep. As she tries to sleep, she hears gunshots in the distance. The next morning, after waking up, Charles dismantles the tent, and they venture deeper into the forest. They set up the tent in another location, light a fire, and sit by it. Dana tells Charles that the place is peaceful, and she considers coming here alone after he leaves. He responds, "That's why I always tell you to make friends." She suggests he could change his mind and stay with her instead of traveling, but he gets irritated and says he won't change his decision. He leaves her and goes into the tent. Dana takes her camera and walks around the forest. Suddenly, she finds an old, destroyed tent. She approaches it and finds a bag with a book inside. The book is about children. She takes it with her and returns to their tent. Later, while they're sleeping, they wake up to the sound of gunfire and motorbikes near their tent. Charles observes with binoculars and tells Dana there are 10 people gathered around a fire. He takes his gun and decides to confront them, but Dana gets scared when she sees the gun and tries to stop him. Suddenly, they hear terrifying sounds and gunfire. Charles looks through the binoculars again and sees creatures attacking the group. Some people are shooting, while others are trying to escape on motorbikes. Within minutes, the area becomes quiet, and everyone who was there is dead. Suddenly, they hear someone calling for help. Charles decides to rescue the person, but Dana refuses and tries to stop him to keep him safe. He gives her the gun and goes to help the injured person. After he leaves the tent, Dana hears noises nearby and sees a shadow outside the tent. She gets scared and calls out to Charles, who returns carrying the injured person. They bring him inside the tent. Charles asks Dana to hold the man still while he tries to treat the wound on his leg. The man struggles, so Charles has to hit him to knock him out. Dana asks Charles if the attackers could have been black bears. Then they find a large claw in the man's wound. Dana suggests they should escape, possibly using the motorbikes left by the deceased. Suddenly, they hear the terrifying sounds again, this time much closer. The injured man wakes up and starts screaming in pain. Dana tries to quiet him so the creatures won't attack them. They ask for his name, and he replies, "Sean Ramsey, Zrenia," and he replies, "Sean Ramsey." When they ask what happened and about the creatures that attacked them, he tells them they must leave the area immediately. Charles asks what brought them here, and Dana explains they came to celebrate their anniversary in the forest. Sean then says he proposed to his wife in this very place. Charles seems uncomfortable and hands the gun to Dana before resting. Sean starts talking to Dana, thanking her for saving him. She tells him to thank Charles instead, as he insisted on rescuing him while she was against it. Sean then says she reminds him of his ex-wife, who left him and took their daughter. Dana asks if he never saw his daughter again, and he replies no. She asks how old his daughter is now, and he says 9 years old. Morning comes, and Charles wakes up to the sound of someone calling for help. He decides to go out and rescue them, but Dana holds him back, saying it's a trap. Charles stays in the tent, and it indeed turns out to be an ambush by the creatures. When no one comes out to help, they see something drag the person up into the trees, then throw them onto the tent and take them away. Dana asks Sean what he knows about the creatures that attacked them, and these creatures, up until now, don't want to attack them while they're in the tent. Here, and those who come here never return. He tells her that he had a grandmother named Millie. She used to tell them that she knew the truth about this place. She told them that many years ago, there was a drought in this area. The warriors decided to sacrifice a teenage girl from a rival tribe. They tied her to the trunk of a tree in front of a bear's cave. The girl kept screaming, but she was pregnant and gave birth to the baby. Years later, they began to notice the disappearance of pregnant women from the tribe, and anyone who went into the forest would disappear. Charles and Dana are distracted, giving Sean the chance to grab the gun. When Charles sees that Sean has taken the gun, he tries to get it back, but a shot is fired, hitting Charles in the leg. Sean points the gun at Dana, threatening her, and saying she will come with him because she is his ticket out of this place. He claims the creatures didn't attack them because she is pregnant. Charles responds, saying she is not pregnant, but Dana remains silent. When Charles asks her directly, she apologizes and says she tried to tell him, but he refused to discuss it. Dana then agrees to go with Sean, but insists Charles come along. Sean refuses and threatens to kill Charles. Dana grabs a claw from one of the creatures that they had removed from Sean's wound. She uses it to hit Sean and takes the gun from him. Charles tells her to tie Sean to a tree and leave him for the creatures. After tying him up, Dana returns to the tent to treat Charles's wound. Charles asks her why she didn't tell him about the pregnancy earlier. She says she tried to bring it up while they were in the car, but he refused to listen. Charles then asks her to go and try to start the motorcycle so they can escape the forest. Suddenly, Dana notices that Sean has freed himself and escaped. She hears the sound of the creatures and assumes they attacked him. Sean, however, hides under the body of one of his friends. Dana steps out of the tent and hears movement ahead. She notices someone hiding behind a tree, points her gun, but drops it when a strange tree-like creature emerges. The creature approaches Dana and places its hand on her stomach. Charles comes out of the tent, grabs the gun, shoots the creature, and kills it. He hands the gun to Dana and tells her to keep going. Dana runs to the motorcycle but struggles to start it. She encounters one of the creatures, which points at her with a finger wearing a ring. She hears Charles calling her to run. When she reaches the tent, she finds Charles surrounded by creatures. She runs to rescue him, but as she approaches, she feels unwell, noticing her stomach has grown larger. Charles is shocked by her appearance, and Dana tells him she feels something changed when the creature touched her. Her hands begin to change, and marks appear on her face. Charles stays by her side, telling her he would have been a good father. Suddenly, Sean arrives, saying he needs Dana as his ticket out of there. When he sees her stomach, he urges them to leave before it's too late. Dana notices the ring Sean is wearing, the same one she saw in the creature. She accuses him of coming here not for his brother, but to find his wife. Sean admits she's right, and says his wife started hearing voices calling her to the forest. He tells Dana she must have heard the same voices, and the forest called her here. Sean demands Dana leave Charles and come with him, threatening to kill Charles. One of the creatures approaches the tent and grabs Sean. Dana supports Charles as they head toward the motorcycle, but she collapses from exhaustion. The creatures gather around them and throw Sean in front of Dana, signaling for her to kill him. Sean attacks Dana, threatening to harm the baby. He keeps asking where she is until his daughter Clara appears. He tells her he's her father, and she approaches him. Dana tries to push Charles away from Clara, but Sean gets impaled on something sharp and dies in pain. Clara pushes him, and he dies. Dana's features continue to change, with her hands becoming tree-like. One of the creatures gestures to her, and she moves toward Charles, who tells her he loves her. She breaks his neck and kills him. Dana collapses, screaming as she gives birth. The creatures take the baby. Later, Dana's daughter enters the forest, now pregnant. She finds Dana's camera on the ground and hears strange sounds from above the trees. The movie ends, implying the daughter will meet the same fate as Dana. If you enjoyed today's movie summary, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. See you in the next episode. Goodbye. A jury is formed to decide whether Dewey is guilty or not guilty. Ellie asks Helena to be Dewey's defense attorney because she is the only trusted person who would agree to defend him. Helena objects to the trial because she believes they are not qualified to do such a thing, but Ellie holds her accountable. The trial begins and Dewey refuses to confess to the crime. Harry testifies against him in court, recounting everything. Gordy, acting as the prosecutor, presents the evidence to the jury to determine Dewey's guilt. Eventually, a date is set for the sentencing hearing. Ellie is unsure what to do if the jury declares him guilty. She decides to threaten Dewey into confessing to the crime, but she is shocked to find him beaten. She learns that Blake tried to force him to confess, so she decides to expel Blake and dismiss him for breaking the law. She then tries to interrogate Dewey and threatens to sentence him to death if he doesn't confess, but Dewey still refuses. The next day, the sentencing hearing takes takes place, and the jury finds Dewey guilty. Ellie does not reveal the punishment she intends to impose on Dewey. She requests another session to make a decision. Suddenly, Dewey decides to confess and admits that he killed Cassandra because Harry believed she was controlling them, and he also saw it that way. He says Harry would be happy with her death and admits that Campbell also helped him. Ellie orders the jury members to arrest Campbell, and the trial is postponed to the following day. Ellie spends 3 days struggling to make a decision. The jury pressures her to announce her ruling, fearing that people might turn against her if they perceive her as weak and unable to make decisions. Ellie, who loves and respects the law, listens to someone explaining the principles of governance, emphasizing that a leader must be firm in their decisions and that the murder that occurred is a blow to the system, requiring a strong response. This leads Ellie to decide to summon someone to testify against Campbell. However, they are too afraid to speak, fearing Campbell might harm them. Ellie promises protection, and the witness states that Campbell never admitted involvement in Cassandra's death, but they suspect he might have committed the crime. They conclude that they have only 2 options: either let him go due to lack of evidence or sentence him to death, as any other punishment would make him more dangerous. The next day, the trial resumes, and Ellie sentences Dewey to execution. She and the jury members head into the forest to carry out the sentence. Grizz, Luke, and Blake prepare to fire their guns simultaneously so no one feels solely responsible. However, Grizz cannot do it and drops his gun. Ellie takes his place and fires with the rest of the group, killing Dewey. Ellie breaks down emotionally, returns home, and is overwhelmed with guilt, unable to bear it. She blames Will for pressuring her and staining her hands with blood. Will apologizes and leaves. Time passes, and Ellie establishes new rules, such as a curfew after midnight and deducting food rations for anyone absent from work. Harry falls into depression after everyone learns he wished for Cassandra's death. Meanwhile, Will grows closer to Haley, who starts to develop feelings for him. They set aside time daily for recreation, such as playing soccer or dancing together, with Ellie announcing the results. Everyone seems to enjoy themselves. Weekly reports are submitted to the committee, with each member responsible for a specific task. For example, Gordy leads a group searching for a way out of the town, while Grizz and his group focus on finding alternative food sources, suggesting they learn farming before their food supply runs out. They estimate they have enough food until summer, but must start growing their own crops. The discovery frightens people, prompting Ellie to reassure them. She tells them they are the first humans on this planet and names their new town New Hill. She assures them this is only a temporary phase until they find a way to return to their original world. She gives them hope that their families are still alive, but in a different place. She succeeds in influencing everyone positively, and he is very happy. Thanksgiving Day comes, and they get married and eat together, except for Campbell, who stays alone at home. He keeps Elle locked up with him, and signs of beating and violence appear on Elle's body. On the day of the holiday, she decides to cook a special meal for him, and she puts a certain type of cleaning chemicals in order to poison him. He finds it in the plate of sweets that he loves, and Campbell is very happy, but suddenly he changes his mind. They go to church and celebrate the holiday with the rest of the people, taking the sweets with him. She is very afraid and tries to stop him, but Campbell insists that they go and they all sit and eat. Ella does not know what to do, and she sees those around her. She sees those around her cutting into her sweets, so she decides to eat some as well. After a while, the theater part comes, and Alexa is in charge of it, and she acts out everything that happens in reality in a theatrical form, and she plays the role of the one who, and she appears in the image of the evil witch who controls the fate of each one of them, and who killed one of them to avenge her sister, deeply upsetting Ellie. However, she doesn't want to show that she's upset with the play because it bothers her. She decides to leave. The actors in the play come to apologize to Ellie, explaining it was an improvisational play and no offense was intended. Suddenly, Ellie feels stomach pain, and others experience the same pain. Ellie has a seizure and is taken to the clinic, where no one has medical knowledge. Haley and Gordy take responsibility, figure out how to prepare IV fluids, and administer them to the patients. Ellie and the others recover and return home feeling better. The dusty and weary Willie, who is always beside Ellie. You feel that he loves her because of his care for her. She talks to him and tells him to try to understand his feelings toward Ellie. She is certain that he loves her and cannot live without her. Willie truly feels his love for Ellie the moment he senses he might lose her. Ellie returns home with Campbell, and there, Campbell waits for her until she wakes up and asks her about the thing she put in the sweets she made for him. Ellie denies knowing anything about what he's talking about. He tells her he knows she wanted to poison him because she is scared of him, and that he has lived his whole life with people fearing him. However, he was never afraid of anything until the moment he was about to die because of her, and at that moment, he feared her. He feels happy about this fear because he rarely experiences genuine emotions. He tells her they are alike because she was willing to poison everyone at the party just so she wouldn't confess to the act. Ellie breaks down and tells him she is not like him and will never be like him. She goes to sit in the church regretting what happened. Helena joins her, and suddenly, Ellie notices blood on her hand. Helena asks about the blood, and Ellie tries to hide her hand. But Helena reassures her and promises not to tell anyone. Ellie then tells Helena about how Campbell abuses her every time she decides to leave or do anything outside the house. She says she never knows when he will hurt her and feels like one day he might kill her. Helena begs Ellie to live in her house and promises to protect her. Ellie agrees and secretly moves to Helena's house without Campbell knowing. When Campbell comes looking for her, Helena refuses to let him into the house. Ellie finally sleeps peacefully, free from fear. The next day, Ellie wakes up and suddenly finds a message from Campbell. It's a video he filmed of Helena while she was sleeping. It's a form of threat to force Ellie to return home. Ellie decides to escape and wanders alone in the forest. Meanwhile, Ellie tries to figure out who poisoned the others. She asks the committee to interrogate everyone who cooked at home and brought food with them. They suspect Alexa because she opposes Ellie and might want to harm her. They decide to arrest her. Alexa is interrogated by Alec and Grace for hours and is locked in the basement. They force her to change her clothes in front of them, which humiliates her. Alexa decides to complain to Ellie, but Ellie tells her there's no humiliation in this because people were poisoned, and it's natural to suspect anyone who opposes her. Ellie then leaves Alexa behind. At that time, Ellie, who feels guilty, decides to confess to Ellie that she was the one who poisoned people during the celebration. Ellie is shocked and can't believe Ellie could do such a thing. Ellie asks Ellie to arrest her and explains everything Campbell did to her. She convinces Ellie that arresting her would protect her. Ellie agrees but decides not to tell anyone about the charges against her because she didn't mean to harm anyone other than Campbell. Later, Ellie gathers a few people in the church and proposes holding presidential elections. She announces that they will choose a candidate from 4 nominees and that she will be one of them. She invites anyone who wants to run to write their name and sets the election date for 3 weeks later. Everyone feels happy and sees this as a form of democracy, a change from Ellie's previous indecisiveness. Each person begins to nominate themselves for the presidency or council. Campbell decides to nominate Harry without telling him. Haley notices this, confronts Campbell, and realizes he wants to exploit Harry for his own benefit. She decides to warn Harry and prevent Campbell from manipulating him. However, Campbell has already gained control over Harry and encouraged him to nominate himself, promising that Harry would represent the people if